Today on Smackey's Garage, we're going to be fixing the auto headlight leveling system in this car. So ever since my suspension broke back here, the auto headlights have stopped working. And because of that, the headlights are pretty much pointed down all the time and you really can't see at night. So I'm going to show you how to fix that in the parts that you need. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Okay, so the headlight system in this car compared to my F-150, much more complex. The way it works is there's level sensors at the front and the rear of the car that actually measure the height and the distance, how much the suspension is compressed. So it determines what the actual level of the car is, so that as that changes, the headlight level itself will change as well. And with that, one of the things that happens is they do break, and they break not that often, but if you have a suspension component fail, it's almost definitely going to break this on your car. Now what will happen is these here will actually be too low and they'll be pointed too low to the ground, so it'll be much harder to actually see outside of the car at night. Now the headlight sensors are going to be located on the lower control arms. There's going to be one in the rear, there's going to be at least one in the front, so you really have to check to see how many you have, find the broken one before you go ahead and move on to order them. And let me tell you, if you don't get the aftermarket ones, they're extremely expensive. They're like $300 for one from Audi. Or you could do as I did and buy a part off FCP Euro, not sponsored. Now let's go ahead and take this thing apart. Now the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to jack the car up so we can see the one we're working on. I'm going to jack it up right under here and get the rear of the car in the air. Now if this tire doesn't come off, you just kick it, it'll come off, but I have had this one off recently because I had to replace the rear spring back here. And with that, I can see my failed part. Also, jack stands. It's important to use jack stands. Okay, so within here in the back, you can see this is what a typical failed part looks like. And you can see this one has been glued because I did a temporary fix on it to try to make it better for my wife, but it did not work. So it's this part here right next to the axle of this car that needs to be replaced. So not only this piece up here, but here. So let's go ahead and look at the replacement. But as soon as you see this, this is how you know it's broken. And how I was saying before, I think the reason why mine is broken is because the spring failed. I ended up having to replace the spring. And when it dropped all the way down with a broken spring, it broke the arm. All right, so I'm gonna start by taking that 5mm off in there. And you can see that it is in there. So with that, I'm gonna try to get the shot if I can, but it is very hard to get in there. So this is going to be one of those times when having a flexible socket head is important, because that way you just slide this in and use this. Now the other piece connects in such a bad spot. So you can see up there, this here is the bracket. And it looks like it's in between the gas tank and the upper control arm. So if that is connected to the upper control arm, I would need to disconnect the upper control arm to take this off, which is pretty crazy. So what I think I'm going to take a shot at doing is actually removing the sensor from that bracket. And if I can, just replacing it on that bracket, because there's no way I want to take that upper control arm off to get this in place. All right, so we're going to try this with a T20 to start. I don't know if it's a T25 or a T20, or if it's just corroded, but we're going to do T25. All right, so been playing with this for a while. These are really stripped. I don't want to take off the control arm to be able to get to this. So what I'm actually going to try to do is I'm going to try to take this nut off and just replace this broken part here with the part that's on the new one. And with that, I keep the sensor, keep everything the same, just end up replacing this one arm. But it is moving freely, so I can replace all this with the one that came with it. It is really, really rusty. This is actually a 10mm in here, not an 8. And there it is, it came out. So now we can hopefully just replace this with the other one. So this is a new sensor. Now I've decided what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to replace this bar here on the old sensor with the new one. So this, you can see I did glue it in place, but it was not moving at all. So just replacing this with this bar, 10mm socket, redo this, put it on, and then it should be good because the sensor is still working. It is just this bar that is broken. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this. Well, there you have it. You have an articulating arm that now works, and it's much easier to replace. Yeah, so I can already tell that this is significantly better than it was before. So before, you really couldn't even see like 20 feet in front of the car. Well, I guess that's it. You know, everything seems to be working better now. The sensor is fine. It was just that linkage that was broken, that broke when I had the suspension issue. And now with that replaced, you know, I can pretty much move on. Kind of disappointed that I didn't get to use the $70 sensor. Glad I didn't buy the $300 Audi one. I can only imagine what the repair bill would be from this at an Audi dealership. Must be really expensive if they have to take apart the suspension and get this off. So thanks for tuning in to Smackey's Garage this week. I'll see you next time.